Thanks for your loyalty to this program. Welcome from around the world. This is Football Planet on Africanews, your Pan-African channel. Right away, the top stories. The Africa Cup of Nations version Cameroon 2021 will see qualifiers start this Wednesday. 2 games in a week with some interesting fixtures lined up. We'll come back to it later with a focus on Benin after their heroics in the last edition in Egypt. A timid start in the competition, only 2 wins in each of the 2 groups on the first day, with the success of the host country Egypt and the defeat of the defending champions Nigeria, surprised by Ivory Coast. The details will follow in a moment. And finally, Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. This Tuesday, we will see the final of the Women's Africa Zone qualifiers. Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire and Zambia, Kenya. The second leg of the 4th round of qualifier remains very open as Cameroon held Ivory Coast to a goalless tie in Abidjan. Welcome to Football Planet. This Wednesday, the qualifiers for the 2021 Cameroon Africa Cup of Nations begins. An exciting campaign that will last nearly 12 months. The entire continent will be moved as the road to Cameroon becomes narrow. Serge Kofi and Michael Odwa will tell us more in the following report.
After the Afcon preliminaries, various matches are staged to be played this week. There are over 48 teams that will compete to book a place in the upcoming Afcon 2021 in Cameroon. A very busy schedule with 152 matches to determine the 23 teams that will join the Cameroon in the forthcoming African Cup of Nations. There will be various derbies across the continent. Africa football is also preparing for an exciting race with multiple challenges. First, for teams like Algeria, who are the defending champions, are not expected to have a smooth ride all along in Group H, where they are tied with Zambia, Zimbabwe and Botswana. We also expect Senegal, steered by Sadio Mane, to have an easy game where they are grouped together with countries like Congo, Guinea-Bissau, Eswatini. Lions of Teranga still remain favorite to win the 2021 Afcon. Egypt and Morocco will have to redeem their positions after last game saw them backslide. Other countries like Benin and Madagascar might pull a surprise again, shocking big teams if underestimated. The 48 teams will be divided into 12 groups of 4 teams each, and the top 2 sides from each group will earn a ticket to the 2021 showpiece in Cameroon.
We focus a little bit on the Squirrels of Benin, who are starting a new fight to reincarnate their historic quarterfinals in Egypt. Bruno Swali, a Beninese journalist, joins us on phone from Cotonou. Hi, Bruno. First of all, has the 2019 exploit changed things in the way Beninese see their national team?
It's possibly necessary. What we experienced with Benin during the 2019 CAN, we've never seen such scenes of jubilation, euphoria and joy before. We had similar atmospheres during the first qualifications in 2004, but when we went to the quarter-finals, the atmosphere was really superb. And since the love towards the national team has changed, even people who did not really have crazy love for the game started following their respective national teams. Even in the press, a lot has changed because we started to differently follow teams' delivery during weekends. Overall, I will say that the love has really changed a sweetness in the last friendly match between Benin. The Chipolopolo of Zambia was the first team to play against the Squirrels. The game led to a 2-2 draw. But really, Squirrels are seen differently in Benin since this historic African Cup Nations that will always be engraved in our memories forever.
Today, what's the feeling with which Beninese approach these Afcon 2021 qualifiers?
Already, I will say that we are in the spirit of qualifying, as we are expected to do so. Look, the meeting between the Squirrels have changed since time went on. It's not only the Beninese that have changed over time, even the opponents see the Beninese team to have changed. I can remind you that playing against Zambia during the last days, We had tough game, just like when we met South Africa and Guinea-Bissau. So a lot of teams wanted to play Squirrels because it was a team that made some good improvement during the African Cup of Nations. We are in a group with Lesotho, Nigeria and Sierra Leone. We have the obligation to qualify. There is this feeling of really confirming what happened at the CAF. Before Zambia, we even faced Ivory Coast and won. We also faced Algeria, who are the champions of Africa, and they beat us 1-0 in friendly. So this is a pride that has remained within Squirrel, even within the Benin Sports Republic. So we have this feeling of really improving to the world that the Squirrels have moved on to the cause at the African Cup of Nations. That was not just a flash, but it was really a new start for a new dimensional team.
The Squirrels start with a complicated trip to Nigeria. Are you confident?
There is confidence, even though the Squirrels currently have had bad club time with Satum Alakbe, injured 2 weeks ago. There is also Khalid Adeno, who is also injured and will not be able to play either against Nigeria or against Sierra Leone. Squirrels are a little sketchy right now. There is Olivier Vedo, who could have done the job in defense but cannot play the game against Nigeria because of a red card received against Morocco. So he will miss the match against Niger. So already a lot of equations in the head of Michel Doucier because the defense is really bad. So at this level, it's true, overall, we have confidence, but at the same time, we have some fears about the absentees of these important players. There is still a lot of issues to solve, but after Nigeria, we know that it is a big African semi-finalist in this African Cup of Nations, but so much better when we met Benin, which might present us luck on Wednesday.
Merci. Thank you very much, Bruno, and good luck to the Squirrels.
Thank you so much, Wahani. Thanks to all Senegalese and Congolese. Thank you.
Bruno Swali, Beninese journalist. Another nation hoping to be in Cameroon is Uganda. The Cranes, who finished 8th in the last Afcon, will enter the qualifying campaign with a new coach, Johnny McKinstry. The British technician, only 34 years old, is already thinking big and comes up with an idea of the game based on the model of a club that is arguably the best in the world.
I think to play exactly like Liverpool, you need to have Firmino, Salah and Mane up front, but it's the style. And so what are we looking for from our style? I think a very energetic way of playing football, that when we lose possession of the ball, we are not retreating to defend our goal, that we're trying to win the ball back higher up the field, we're trying to press our opponents when possible, because running around aimlessly, trying to apply pressure doesn't work. It has to be a team strategy in how we apply pressure and the moments that we choose to do that. And then when we win the ball, for us to look forward, for us to look to play to our forward players in attacking spaces early, that we're not looking to play 20 passes just because it looks nice. We are looking to have impactful and meaningful possession of the ball that takes us forward into attacking spaces on the field. So in a big picture, those are our key objectives. Do we get to do that every game? No, because sometimes you come up against very strong opponents.
Johnny McKinstry, coach of Uganda Cranes. You can follow the entire interview on Africanews this week. Over to Egypt, where the Under-23 Afcon is currently being played. A host and a winning mentality for Egypt, who recorded a narrow 1-0 win over Mali in the opener, as you can see on the screen. The Pharaohs Under-23 take the lead in Pool A ahead of Cameroon and Ghana, who share the spoils in the second group, game 1-1. Defending champion Nigeria already have their backs on the wall in Group B. The Olympic Super Eagles are at the bottom of their group after losing 0-1 to Côte d'Ivoire. The leader, who after the one matches, a regional derby down south, was settled by a goalless draw between South Africa and Zambia. The two matches take to the turf this Monday, and possible semi-finalists could emerge edge. Egypt could validate their ticket in Group A if they win against Ghana, while Mali will try to get back on track against Cameroon. The same scenario applies in Pool B, where Nigeria can no longer afford to make a mistake against Zambia on Tuesday. Ivory Coast, on the other hand, could validate their ticket if they win against South Africa. And here is the program for third-day fixtures, which will also come this week. First up on Thursday, we will have Egypt against Cameroon and Mali versus Ghana. Friday, Nigeria, South Africa, and Ivory Coast against Zambia. And just to remind you that the top 3 teams at the Under-23 Afcon will represent Africa at the Tokyo Olympic Games next year. A qualification race for which the finalists will be known on Monday and Tuesday for the women's category. On the agenda will be Zambia versus Kenya, while Cameroon takes on Ivory Coast on Tuesday. No winner in the first leg, making these return legs a cracker. Let's now return to the Under-17 World Cup, where 3 African teams made it to the round of 16, but that was as far as they could go. Angola was defeated 0-1 by South Korea. Nigeria, on the other hand, lost 3-1 to the Netherlands, and Senegal lost 2-1 to Spain. And we now know the first 2 semi-finalists, Netherlands and Mexico, who defeated Paraguay 4-1 and South Korea 1-0 respectively. The last 2 semi-finalists will be known this Monday. France takes on Spain, while Italy will challenge the host Brazil. Shock weekend in Europe as the European champions took on the defending English champions. Liverpool against Manchester City. Once again, the Reds could rely on their African manpower as both Salah and Mane scored in a 3-1 win at Anfield. In France, the Olympic derby was in favor of Marseille, who beat Lyon 2-1, while in Italy, Dybala's late strike was a decider between Juventus and AC Milan, leaving the old lady on top of Serie A standings. Thanks for being there. It's the end of the show. More on our website, africanews.com. See you next week. Bye-bye.